Hi there. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our live question and answer class. We have this class each Friday at 12 o'clock Seattle time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Feel free to ask your questions at any time by typing them in the chat, and I'll answer them for you live. We typically talk about pronunciation, American accent, anything to help you improve your communication in American English. At the start today, I want to talk about these two words, later and latter, as an example for some patterns that many of you have heard me talk about in other videos, like our Word of the Day classes. And what I want to look at is the sounds in the words versus the spelling of the words. So these two words have some similarities and differences. They both have first syllable stress. The letter A in later says the A diphthong. And so I might want to rewrite that with an AY or an AI to help me think about that A being long and moving from a more tense A to a more relaxed A. For most people, saying the A sound, just holding a little longer will help you correct any accent error patterns you might have on it. And in this case, letter A does say A, versus in latter, the letter A says the vowel. This is the vowel we use in words like black and cat. And more often than not, letter A is going to say It's less often that it would say the A sound. In this word, in a word like late, it says the A because there's an A and an E at the end. A also comes in words with, like I said, AY or AI, like day or rain. And then when the letter A is by itself, often it says the like in words like black or cat. And so we can use these vowels to help us in similar other words to make the differential. Also, between later and latter, interestingly, in later we have the letter T, and in latter we have two Ds, but these two actually make the same sound. So both the T and the D make what's called a flap, and it's a light voiced sound. So when I say later, it really sounds like a light little D, and latter, it's also light. By light, I mean that I don't go and fully block the air. I don't say ladder or later. You can hear it, the air doesn't really stop. I just lift up my tongue to that position for the T and D. My voice is on, and then I smoothly move out. Later, latter. We mostly talk about this in the context of T because this is helpful for words like water or little. Many times you may be saying more of a true T there, like water, and Americans will use this flap sound there. Flap is its own sound. It can be a T or a D in English. It can also be an R sound in some other languages. It's just the lifting of the tongue behind the teeth, tapping up and coming back down. What's not helpful is that the dictionary will show you a T for later and a D for latter, but we don't say really a strong T or D. We don't block the air. We use a flap for both of those. And so I sometimes mark the flap T with a little mark under the T. I also just often rewrite it with a D, so that you can think about something like later. If you visualize the D, it probably will help you make the flap sound. For latter, for the sound, I probably wouldn't respell that word. I could maybe just write it with L-A for the la sound. If I write it without the two Ds, then your brain might think of it as an A sound. So later versus latter, same sounds, different spelling, same spelling, different sounds. So this is something that, again, we talk about in lots of words and lots of specific requests in our Word of the Day classes and in this weekly class. But it's helpful to, as you see, to know symbols to use the dictionary and also to rewrite the words or visualize the words in a new way that you can associate more strongly with the actual sounds from the words. So thank you for your attention to that mini lesson, and let's take a look at the questions that you have for me today. Nice to see you. Hi, Olvia. Welcome, everybody. So far, no questions, so feel free to type your questions in there as you have them, and we'll start talking about some recent requests while I'm waiting for live questions. So we had a recent request for the word motivator. So looking at the word motivator, first of all, let's look at motivate. So if we look at motivate, we have first syllable stress. The O does say an O sound. Mo. O is also diphthong like A, where we hold it a little longer and relax as we go. And then motivate. This T is a flap. So again, you'll see it as a T. You might think about it like a D, more like mo. This letter I is going to be the I sound. You might even think of it as more of an sound, like a schwa, motivate. And then finally, I won't let that final T out. So rather than motivate with a strong T, I'm going to just stop the air with my tongue, motivate, and make a stopped T. Motivate. And this A, because there's an E, again, we have the 2 vowel rule where we have diphthong A. So motivate. And the request was actually for motivator. So if we change that to motivator, we then have an at the end, and then this changes from a stop T, motivate, to a flap T, motivator. So it would be like vader, motivator. Syllable stress doesn't change. None of the other vowel sounds changes, just that T. Okay, so that came in for a word of the day, but we covered it ahead of time today. And if you have asked for a request or made a request for a word of the day, I do have a long list, and I'm working my way through all of those requests, so I'll get to yours soon. All right, we have a request for the word ominous. That's a good one. Ominous. What's challenging here, I think, is again, sounds and spelling, and then that close succession of that M and that N sound. So we have first syllable stress in ominous. Letter O, when it's stressed, often says the ah sound. So you'll see in the dictionary like this, ominous. You'll probably see that either as a schwa or an I in the dictionary. Ominous. You probably see an I and then a schwa. I would rewrite it like ah, ma, ominous. Maybe I'll write it with an I. Ominous. And again, it doesn't matter too much if I'm doing an I or a schwa in those reduced syllables. I just really want to be short and light and lax on those vowels. Ominous. And then you also asked for startled. That's a tough one. Startled. So what we do there is we have first syllable stress. I would suggest building from the R. That's usually what's hard here, plus the TLED. So I would try art, startled. So thinking right away that this T is going to be a flap, startled. It's going to sound more like a D. Startle. So, and then we have that dark L. So there's almost no vowel between the D and the L. If there is a little vowel, it's kind of a small schwa. So you can try artle, tartle, startle. If you have trouble with that TLE, that dull, like startle, look for my videos for words like little, Seattle, that teach you how to do the flap T moving into a dark L. You can also use my Sounds of English course that talks about each of the different consonant sounds of English, and then specifically about things like dark L and flap T and where we use them, how to use those to build up for this pattern. And then startled, it's extra hard because I have to put a D at the end. What you'll find is that we don't really say startled with a strong D. We don't tend to release it. So we say startled, light little D. You might find it easier to say something like startled it and link the two, because then you can kind of have startled it, startled it. It's easier to get that combination of consonants at the end by putting your D on the next word. I startled it. I startled a bird, etc. So startled it, startled I'm thinking of that D linking together those two words. That would be my suggestion for that word. Thank you. That was a tough one. I will, after class at some point, go through and put timestamps in the comments so you can see all of the different things we covered in class. And when I have additional videos like with Startled, you may want to also look at Little and Seattle. I'll put the links for those videos there in the comment so you can go a little further into investigating your particular word or question. Okay, we have a question from Hector. Nice, welcome, Hector. Hector says he's new, and he's wondering about the words pursue and pursuit. So we have pursue. Let's look at that word first, and because pursuit is very similar to pursue. So what I would say is we have second syllable stress in these words, and so the su has a long, clear vowel. The per is shorter and reduced. You'll see it written maybe like that or with another symbol. It does still have the tight R, so I don't want to lose my R. I don't want pursue. I want pursue. That can be challenging to do that. Keep that tension on the R, keep the American R in there, even though it's unstressed. And then my su is long. So I would rewrite that as kind of thinking the per as a small touch, and then su is what's long, pursue. Then when I add pursuit, pursuit, I think it has a U, not an E. I just add, close off and stop that vowel very short, lift my tongue for the T. Again, I might not say pursuit with a strong T. I tend to use a stop T there. Pursuit, pursuit. Unless I'm saying, for example, the pursuit of happiness, link those together. My T then turns to a flap and it sounds more like pursuit of, pursuit of. You can find out more about what T does at the ends of words, when it links, what it does in the middle of words in my American Accent 6-week course, and also in our Sounds of English course, where we break down all of the different American T sounds. Those are on speechmodification.com. All of our courses are either free or they're available for under $2, so you can check those out. Thank you, Hector. All right, we have a request for refrigerator, pronunciation, and efficient. Let's look at refrigerator. So first of all, often people will just say fridge. It sounds like fridge. They might even write it that way as fridge. If you want to say the full thing, refrigerator, we have stress on the fridge. So building from fridge, first of all. To do fridge, I would try first saying the word ridge. Make sure you can do your R sound. We have, and push out the J sound there, ridge. Then add your F, fridge. Then my RE is unstressed, so it's going to be an I sound, refridge. You might even think about it like an sound, refridge. That's probably going to help you get that correct relaxed vowel sound there. Refrigerator, refrigerator. So trying refrigerator. This one is a flap. My letters OR say the ER sound, refrigerator. Good. Okay. And then for your question about pronunciation, the word pronunciation, I'll put a link for my video on how to say pronunciation later on, or I'll come back to your word if we have time. But basically just watch out that when we say pronounce, we have an ow sound. I pronounce it, but pronunciation, we have a schwa there, pronunciation, stress on the A. But I do have a more lengthy video for you on that one. And then you also asked about efficient. So for the word efficient, we again have the stresses on the fish syllable. This letter C says the SH sound, So I would build from the word fish. And then again, this in the dictionary is probably going to be an efficient. You will sometimes hear people saying efficient, but you want to try to move to not having a clear vowel there because it's unstressed. So either efficient or efficient. I'm going to write it this way, efficient. And then we have just a kind of almost no vowel here in the last syllable, maybe a little I or a schwa, but going as quickly as you can from the SH to the NT, efficient, efficient. And we also tend to use a stop T at the end of that word if we're saying it by itself. Okay, great. Thank you for that request, refrigerator, pronunciation, and efficient. Hopefully that was an efficient way of looking at it for you, maybe a little inefficient. Okay. Olivia would like to know about if there's any difference between whither and with her. So it's probably mostly about rhythm, Olivia. But what you're probably noticing is that I don't tend to say I'm with her with a strong H. Sometimes that H drops off of her and him, like with him, with her. I've been with her for days, with her. So we can kind of link those and drop the H. I'm with her right now. I can say with her right now if I want to make it clear. We don't tend to say this word in the same context, so nobody's probably going to mistake them for one another. But when we say whither, I definitely use a voice TH on that one. With, if I say I'm with her, some people use a voice, so they might say I'm with her now. I personally use a voiceless on that one, so that was one difference for me, that this one would be voiced and this would be voiceless. But you will hear with him, with her, I'm with her 24 hours. To me, that sounds strange because I don't naturally use the voice TH there. Another thing is that I'd say in the word whither, we really do have more length on the with and less on the her. In with her friends, we're going to be shorter on the with and the her, with her friends. I guess that sounds a little bit voiced. So thinking about the plant's leaves all wither, you need more length on the stressed syllable because that's the stressed word, rather than she's with her friends, then the wither is going to be, both of them will be fast and short. Hopefully you heard me say it enough times to help you kind of hear those subtle differences, but that's a great question, great request. Thank you, Olivia. Okay. We have a request for squirrel. Hector, I'm going to refer you to, I have a video for squirrel that breaks it down really carefully. After class, I'll put a link for that in the comments. I would just say quickly to help you with it that what you want to think about is the R and the L, kind of thinking about it as two syllables. So trying were, quer, squirrel. Yeah, okay. I'll send you the link for that video so you can get a more detailed and thorough explanation for that word. We have a request for the word literally. So let's just break it down sound by sound. I do a video for this as well that I can put in the comments after class to help you. We do have a flap T here. So we have first syllable stress, litter. I'll put two D's there because will help you think of that flap sound. Literally. Okay, yeah, that's a tough one for a lot of people because of the R's and the L's. Usually when you rewrite it, if you go syllable by syllable, that should really help you to break that down and say it easily. Okay. We have a request for pronunciation of words that end when ing, like eating. Sometimes it sounds like eaten in the past participle, how to understand it. Okay, so there should be a pretty clear difference between eating and eaten. What you'll notice is that in some dialects of English, people will change the NG and just say, we're eaten now. But that's mostly just in the southern US, and other places we do clearly do the NG, the ng sound. I've eaten already. What I do there is eaten. I tend to stop that T and go right to a syllabic end. So there's no sound here. So it's moving up from eat and releasing, stopping the air for the T and releasing right into the N. So they've already eaten, versus they're already eating. You can hear this one sounds more like a D, flapped, and has clearly two syllables, eating, versus eaten. Does have two syllables, but there's no vowel there. And we don't hear any kind of flap sound for that T. That's a really good question and a really good point. Hopefully hearing me say both in sentences and seeing those differences will help you to differentiate those when you're listening and hearing. Do watch out that you don't really want to do an N on eaten. Sometimes in casual speech, we might say, how you doing? How's it going? And we do change that G to an N, NG to an N sound. But in most cases in standard English, we keep that NG sound. I have several videos about that as well. Okay, great. We have a question about the word smarter. So similar to starter that we talked about, in smarter, we make a flap here. So it's like a light D. So build maybe from the light D, der, arder, martyr, smarter. It's not really easy for a lot of people. Sometimes with ARD is a challenge. ART and ARD sounds are challenging, especially when you have to do an R and a der. I do have a video, I think, for the word harder that can help you also with smarter, because they sound the same even though harder has a D and smarter has a letter T. They both have a flap there for that between the two R's. Thank you for that request. Okay. Hector also wants to know about the word secretary, how to put the right stress. So you want first syllable stress there, secretary. Red tent vowel on the first part of it, secretary. Great. We have a question about how to, so your question, you're asking about pronunciation in the USA? Are you asking about pronunciation of USA or just American pronunciation in general? Maybe you can clarify your question for me and I can go into a little more detail. If you're asking about just how to say USA, I do have some videos about pronouncing the alphabet, thinking about the U as having an U and a Y sound, S and A, USA. But I'm thinking that might not have been what you were asking, so you can ask me again. Great, Ovi, I'm glad you could hear the difference for your words. We have another similar question. Does let us and lettuce, do lettuce and lettuce sound the same? Let us go there. So if I'm linking those two, let us think about it. Lettuce, they do sound the same. It's going to be, they both are going to have a flap, kind of like a light D sound. Lettuce and first syllable stress, because the let is more important than the us. So let us talk about lettuce. We might say let us do it if we're stressing on us, and then they wouldn't sound the same. So it kind of depends on the context for lettuce. Let us have them over. Let us eat lettuce. Okay, yeah, good point. Good. Question about combine the words, explain the noun and verb. Okay. So noun versus verb, combine and combine. All right, so more typically we use combine as a verb. I'm gonna combine these two. I'm gonna combine forces. I'm gonna combine the two things together. So that's the common usage, and so that typically has second syllable stress. So my letter O in combine, since it's not stressed, it's not going to say an ah sound. It's going to sound like an sound. So thinking about it as a short like come. In the dictionary, you'll see that with the schwa. And you'll see that the stress marker comes before the letter B, combine. That just means I'm using a clear vowel on combine. The I happens there. So thinking about it like buy or bine, letter E makes the I say its name, combine. That's what we use most commonly. But then if we're talking about the noun, a combine, this is less common. That's something you see on a farm, farm equipment. Then we have first syllable stress. So then the O is stressed and it sounds like an ah instead. So you'll see a stress marker before that. Combine. It still has secondary stress, so it still keeps the I sound. It sounds more like combine. But you're unlikely to have to use that one very much. So I would focus on being able to say combine with second syllable stress correctly. Other things that can help you with that is words like complete also has same pattern of a schwa and second syllable stress. Oops, I did that wrong. Not first syllable stress, not complete, but complete. Complete, combine, convey, commercial, etc. That was not a verb, but com unstressed at the beginning sounds like come rather than calm when it is stressed. Good question. I have a number of a number of videos about noun and verb stress, including one that just talks about it generally, and then several in our Word of the Day series that talk about words like record and record. So this can be a useful piece of information. Sorry, I said a word that made my device activate. Okay, we have a request for serious versus series. So in serious, we have three syllables. So we have serious, sounds like seer, us. Series has just two syllables, series. So that sounds like seer, ease. So serious, make sure you have an es. In between those two, you're going to have a little bit of a y sound because you're gliding, but series, no y sound, only one sound for these two vowel letters together. Series. That was a very serious series on TV. Good question. Thank you. Okay. We have a question about our doctor, teacher, secretary words for using with two genders. Yes, doctor just means the role of doctor, either medical doctor or someone with a PhD is doctor. So it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, whatever gender. Same with teacher, secretary. It's just the name of the job or the name of the position, like Secretary of State, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, for example. Okay. We have a question about drive, driver, and driven. So drive and driver both have the I diphthong. And the difference is just drive ends with a V. Driver has the after the V. And then driven, the letter I changes to the I sound. So it sounds like driven. And then we don't really have much of a vowel sound for that. E, driven, first syllable stress. So I like to drive, the driver of the car, and he's very driven to meet his goals, or we've driven 100 miles. Thank you for that request. Okay, now we have a question about H and age. So letter H sounds like H. The IPA would be H. And age sounds like age or j. We have different ways of spelling this j sound. The IPA would be age. So the difference here really is between the CH sound, the ch sound, and the j sound. The only difference is that this one has no voice. H, ch, my voice isn't on. Age, j, my voice needs to be on for that j sound. I do have a video about the ch and j sounds and voicing at the ends of words. One suggestion I have is you'll hear two things. Number one, in H, it's a little shorter. The vowel's a little shorter before an unvoiced sound or voiceless sound. And in age, if you hold your vowel a little bit longer, you'll hear and perceive that voicing on the j sound more easily. I would also suggest trying linking age with another word starting with a vowel, because you can think about that as being age of. It's easier to put the voicing on when I link. When I say H is, we tend not to link those. So that sounds more like H is. H is a letter, age of the children. Yeah, so some of those tips are useful for voiced and voiceless sounds at the ends of words. I do have a video about that. After class at some point, I'll come back and leave a comment and pin that at the top where you can see links to some other videos related to the topics we covered today. Okay, I'm going to take a couple more quick questions and then we'll need to wrap up for today. We'll be back again with Word of the Day tomorrow and our weekly Friday class each Friday at this same time. It's nice to see so many of you here and so many great questions today. Thank you very much. I apologize if I don't get to your specific question. I will go back later on and make references and links for you to help you out. And you can also leave requests. If you're watching this not live, leave a comment and I'll add your word to my word of the day or give you resources if I have a video for your word already. Okay, question about the word monolingual. So if someone is monolingual, we stress on the ling syllable. So the mono, we have secondary stress, I would say, on the ma, because we do an ah there, ma, mana. But then this letter O is more like a schwa, very unstressed, monolingual. Gual. Okay, so I'm just writing out the IPA for you. Let's rewrite it. It's going to be like ma, na, ling. I have an NG here for the letters NG, sound, and then also a g sound, monolingual, gual. The GU says a g and w sound together, kind of unusual. Monolingual. And then very little schwa, very little vowel there with a dark L. So going slowly, monolingual. Yeah, that's a great request. Thank you for that one. Okay, I'll have time for just a couple more. So if I've already answered a question from you, I'm going to have to pass on your second or third question. Sorry about that, but we're running out of time. So we had a request for sewage and electric and wage. So let's just look quickly at yours. So sewage versus wage In sewage, the su syllable is stressed. So that's going to have the clear vowel. And the W-A-G-E is just going to sound like widge. Almost no vowel. Sewage. But in wage, we only have the stress is on wage. So we're going to have the clear A sound and our J sound, wage. So sewage versus wage. And then electric has second syllable stress. So this is going to be an I or a schwa, lek. That's going to have the K sound, red tent vowel, and then trick, like a trick, electric. Okay, that was a pretty quick review because I'm running out of time. So sorry if it felt a little bit rushed. And last word, we have calf versus calves. So for both of these, the L is silent. So calf sounds like black cat vowel. Basically sounds like calf, as in caffeine, or yeah, I can't think of what else has calf like that. And then calves, same vowel, but instead of an F sound, we have a V, voiced V sound, and the letters easy say the ES say the Z sound. So calf and calves. Actually, I'll write it that way, calves. Good, so one calf and two calves. Okay, thank you so much for the great requests today. And I do apologize. I did skip a few of them along the way to try to make sure that I got answered at least one question from everyone. So if you had multiple questions and I didn't get to all of them, do come back next week. You can ask again. You can also leave a comment on this video or any of my videos and make requests, and I can cover your words in our Word of the Day series. We do have a new Word of the Day video each day. We also have a Word of the Day online course on speechmodification.com that has the pronunciation videos as well as definitions for the words that have been requested. It's a great way to get a little bit more help and information and work on vocabulary as well as pronunciation. That class is totally free. We also have another free online course, our accent mini course, that gives you a little overview of some of our paid courses. And our paid online courses are all under $2. So I keep those really inexpensive to make them accessible. I suggest if you've been enjoying Word of the Day, you might want to check out our Sounds of English course because it's a great foundation for overall pronunciation. Talks about all of the different sounds of English and what accent patterns to watch out for. And if you're more focused on accent in general, looking at intonation, all of the different patterns of the accent and how to make some changes there, you might like our American Accent 6-week course. It walks you through from the most basic to much more advanced levels of accent training. Those are video courses where you can work through them at your own pace. And again, they're all under $2 or free. So check those out on speechmodification.com. Thanks so much to those of you who have subscribed to the channel, who've liked my videos, left me comments and questions and requests. I really appreciate your support. And a special thanks to our channel members, those of you who have joined the channel and are supporting us that way. We'll be back with our members-only classes and extra member videos for you guys as well. Thanks, everyone. It was nice to see you here today. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.